Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Valsa Williams, and with me is Anuja Kumar with the midday news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be on a two-day visit to Gujarat from tomorrow to address Khadi Utsav at Sabarmati riverfront in Ahmedabad. Supreme Court refers freebies issued to three-judge bench, also calls for an expert committee and all-party meeting to discuss the subject. Chief Justice N.V. Ramana to retire today, new CJI U.U. Lalit to assume charge of office tomorrow. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh holds bilateral talks with his Tanzanian counterpart Dr. Stergomena Lawrence-Tax in New Delhi today. Jharkhand Governor seeks legal advice on Election Commission's report over Office of Profit case against CM Hemant Soren. Veteran Congress leader Ghulam Nabi Azad resigns from primary membership of party. Country's steel production capacity increases by 50% to 155 million tons per annum in last 8 years, says Steel Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. In badminton, Chirag Shetty and Satvik Sairaj Ranki Reddy make history by storming into men's doubles semi-finals in BWF World Championship. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay a two-day visit to Gujarat on the 27th and 28th of August. During the visit, he will inaugurate several projects at Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar and Kutch. A report from our correspondent.
On the first day of his visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the Khadi Utsav at Sabarmati riverfront in Ahmedabad, and the PM will address the weavers on the occasion. Thousands of weavers from across the state will weave the spinning wheel together at the event. Next day, PM will inaugurate and perform groundbreaking ceremonies for various projects in Kutch, including Smriti One, which is a memorial built atop of Gujio Hill near Bhuj in the memory of victims of 2001 Gujarat earthquake. Prime Minister would also address a gathering at Kutch University ground in Bhuj. Later in the day, PM will preside over a function at Mahatma Mandir in Gandhinagar, which has been organized to commemorate the 40 years of Maruti Suzuki in India. Aparna Khun, Air News, Ahmedabad.
The Supreme Court today called for an expert committee and an all-party meeting to discuss the issue of freebies. A petition had sought the deregistration of political parties who offer freebies during and after elections. Chief Justice N.V. Ramana said there can be no denying the fact that in electoral democracy the true power lies with the electorate. He said a three-judge bench would decide on a petition seeking the reconsideration of a 2013 judgment in a similar case. That order had said that free TVs or laptops announced during elections is not a corrupt practice and is related to directive principles of state policy for welfare of citizens. For the first time in history, the Supreme Court has begun live streaming its proceedings today. The Supreme Court's EE committee, headed by its sitting judge, Justice Dhananjay Y. Chandrachud, had been working on a proposal to launch an exclusive platform for live streaming court proceedings. The EE Court's project is an ambitious initiative to implement the use of information and technology in the country's judiciary. Today is Chief Justice N.V. Ramana's last day in office. New CJI Justice U.U. Lalit will assume charge tomorrow. Justice Lalit will have a brief tenure as he will demit office in November this year. The Supreme Court has dismissed a plea challenging denial of sanction to prosecute Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath in a case alleging making of hate speech in 2007. The bench, comprising Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana, Justice Hema Kohli and Justice C.T. Ravi Kumar pronounced the judgment to grant relief to CM Yogi Adityanath. The petitioner had alleged that Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath had made hate speech in a meeting held in Gorakhpur in 2007.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today holds a bilateral meeting with Tanzanian Minister of Defence and National Service Dr. Stergomena Lawrence-Tax in New Delhi. After the meeting, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said there is immense scope to boost defence and military-to-military cooperation between both the countries. He expressed confidence that India and Tanzania partnership will continue to grow over the coming decades, taking the bilateral relations to a greater height. He said both the leaders reviewed the full range of India-Tanzania defence ties. Mr. Singh said India and Tanzania share the same strategic space and India considers Tanzania as a major Western Indian Ocean player. Earlier, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh received Tanzanian Minister of Defence and National Service, Dr. Stergomena Lawrence Tax. Dr. Stergomena Lawrence Tax inspected the Tri-Service Guard of Honour. She also laid wreath and paid homage to the fallen heroes at the National War Memorial in New Delhi. Dr. Tax will visit Hyderabad during her stay in India, where she would be interacting with the Indian defence industries. She would also be visiting Ordnance Factory at Medak, Bharat Dynamics Limited and Zen Technologies Limited in Hyderabad. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez on Thursday. In a series of tweets, Dr. Jaishankar said they discussed strengthening the bilateral cooperation, including making trade levels more sustainable and ambitious. He also spoke about energy and food security, both from the perspective of the global south and bilateral ties between the two countries. Dr. Jaishankar underlined the importance of affordable healthcare, including pharmaceuticals. They also exchanged views on the potential for defence cooperation as well as in nuclear energy.
The Election Commission has submitted its report to Jharkhand Governor Ramesh Bais on Chief Minister Hemant Soren's Office of Profit case. The governor is likely to take a decision on the case today. Political stir has increased in the state after Governor Ramesh Bais returned to Ranchi yesterday. Official sources have confirmed that the copy of the judgment has reached Raj Bhavan. Sources in the Governor House have confirmed that the Governor has been studying the EC report and seeking legal advice on the case. Senior bureaucrats have also been approached by the Governor House on this matter. Jharkhand CM Hemant Soren has called a meeting of UPA MLAs at his residence in Ranchi today, amid recent political developments in the state. Meanwhile, CM Soren had dismissed reports of receiving any communication from the ECI or the Governor on his disqualification as an MLA in the Office of Profit matter.
Former Chief Minister of Jharkhand Raghuvar Das in the month of February this year approached the Governor Ramesh Bais seeking a plea against Chief Minister Hemant Soren for obtaining stone mining lease under Office of Profit case, which is a clear violation of Representation of the People's Act 1951. The delegation of BJP members demanded disqualification of CM Hemant Soren as MLA in this case. Governor Ramesh Bais had then sought advice from the Election Commission under Article 192 of the Constitution. The Election Commission has given its opinion on this case, which has reached the Governor House in Ranchi. Shilpi, AIR News, Ranchi.
Veteran Congress leader Ghulam Nabi Azad has resigned from all positions, including primary membership of the party. In a letter addressed to Congress President Sonia Gandhi, Mr. Azad said, with great regret and an extremely heavy heart, he has decided to sever his over half-a-century-old association with the Congress. He said the leadership should have undertaken a Congress Jodo exercise across the country before starting the Bharat Jodo Yatra. He said 23 leaders who wrote up to point out weaknesses were insulted and humiliated. Meanwhile, Congress has termed Mr. Azad's resignation as saddening. Briefing the media in New Delhi, Party General Secretary Ajay Markan said Mr. Azad has quit the party when the Congress is fighting against the BJP on the issues of inflation and unemployment.
More than 211 crore 13 lakh vaccine doses have been administered in the country under a nationwide vaccination drive so far. The Health Ministry said more than 31 lakh vaccine doses were administered in the last 24 hours. During the same period, 10,256 new COVID cases were reported in the country. India's active caseload currently stands at 90,707 and it is at 0.20%. The recovery rate is currently at 98.61%. A total of 13,528 people have recovered in the last 24 hours. The ministry said the weekly positivity rate stands at 3.02% and the daily positivity rate is at 2.43%. A total of more than 88 crore 43 lakh COVID tests have been conducted in the country so far. In the last 24 hours, more than 4 lakh 22,000 tests were conducted. Steel Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has said that the production capacity of steel has increased by 50% to 155 million tons per annum in the last 8 years. Mr. Scindia said this while inaugurating the International Conference on resource efficiency and circular economy in the mineral and metal sector in New Delhi today. He said the country, which was a net importer a decade ago, has today transformed itself to become a net exporter.
The world is witnessing a huge depletion of all types of natural resources. And in such an environment, a circular economy is the demand of the world. India has changed tremendously. We are the world's 7th largest economy. Steel is that metal which has the most tremendous amount of demand across the length and breadth of the country. And India has traveled a long journey. A country that was a net importer has today transformed itself to becoming a net exporter. A country that was the 4th largest producer of steel in the world is today the world's 2nd largest producer of steel.
Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama arrived in New Delhi today. Dalai Lama has arrived in Delhi after a gap of over 3 years. After a month-long sojourn in Ladakh, the Dalai Lama departed from Leh to Delhi today. The Airports Authority of India and Sweden's LFV Air Navigation Services have joined hands for developing and operationalizing the next generation sustainable aviation technology to explore smart aviation solutions. AAI and Sweden's LFV signed a Memorandum of Understanding today in New Delhi in this regard. The Civil Aviation Ministry informed that the MOU will pave the way for bilateral exchange of aviation knowledge, expertise and technology transfer between the two countries. It will also allow the Indian companies to accelerate growth while leveraging Swedish innovation and expertise. The MOU aims to expand technical cooperation in airports and support the development of a safe, secure, sustainable and efficient aviation sector. On the occasion, Chairman of Airports Authority of India, Sanjeev Kumar, expressed confidence that the mutual exchange in civil aviation between AAI and LFV Sweden will go a long way in building an operationalization of next-generation smart and sustainable aviation technology.
Ministry of Tribal Affairs and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, under its Ashwasan campaign, has screened over 1 crore persons in over 68,000 villages. The Ashwasan campaign started in January this year in Nandurbar district, Maharashtra, for active case finding for TB in 174 tribal districts of India under the ambit of the Tribal TB Initiative. Recently, a national conclave was held at the National Tribal Research Institute, New Delhi, to disseminate the learnings of the 100-day Ashwasan campaign under Tribal TB Initiative. Addressing the event, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Dr. Navaljeet Kapoor said that the Ashwasan campaign brought together about 2 lakh community influencers, including tribal leaders, tribal healers, PRI members, SHGs and youths in the tribal areas. Senior RJD MLA Awadh Bihari Chaudhary has been unanimously elected as the Speaker of Bihar Assembly today. Election for the post of Speaker was necessitated following the resignation of Vijay Kumar Sinha from the post in the changed political scenario in Bihar. Addressing members of the House, Mr. Chaudhary requested members to maintain sanctity of the House. After the address, the House adjourned sine die.
The Indian Meteorological Department has issued a yellow alert of rain in Uttarakhand for the next 4 days. The IMD said there is a possibility of heavy rain in the mountainous region of the state today and across the state from tomorrow till Monday. In view of the yellow warning, the administration and SDRF have been alerted to mobilize all necessary resources to deal with any possibility of natural calamity. People living in sensitive areas have also been alerted. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami today inaugurated the helicopter services between Dehradun and Almora-Pithoragarh from Jolly Grant Airport. On the occasion, the Chief Minister expressed his gratitude to the Union Minister for Civil Aviation, Jyotiraditya M. Scindia, for starting this heli service. He said the service operated under the Udan scheme would play an important role in increasing the air connectivity in the state and make transportation facility easier for the people. He said it is the endeavour of the state government to provide all facilities to the pilgrims and tourists to travel in the state. Shri Dhami said air connectivity is being further expanded in the state.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be on a 2-day visit to Gujarat from tomorrow to address Khadi Utsav at Sabarmati Riverfront in Ahmedabad. Supreme Court refers freebies issue to 3-judge bench, also calls for an expert committee and all-party meeting to discuss the subject. Chief Justice N.V. Ramana to retire today, new CJI UU Lalit to assume charge of office tomorrow. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh holds bilateral talks with his Tanzanian counterpart Dr. Stergo Meena Lawrence Tax in New Delhi today. Jharkhand Governor seeks legal advice on Election Commission's report over Office of Profit case against CM Hemant Soren. Veteran Congress leader Ghulam Nabi Azad resigns from primary membership of party. Country's steel production capacity increases by 50% to 155 million tons per annum in last 8 years, says Steel Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. And in badminton, Chirag Shetty and Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy make history by storming into men's doubles semi-finals in BWF World Championship. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
मुट्ठी भर अंग्रेज और हमारे विशाल देश पर राज करने का स्वप्न देखते हैं, पर हम इनके स्वप्न को चकनाचूर कर देंगे।
निकल पड़े स्वाधीनता के पथ वाले, स्वतंत्रता संग्राम की सुनी अनसुनी कहानियों के साथ स्वराज हर रविवार रात 9 बजे डीडी नेशनल पर।
बर्फ से ढके पहाड़,
हवा के साथ झूमते चीड़ चिनार,
झीलों पर तैरते शिकारे,
हरी भरी घाटियों के दिलकश नजारे।
आकाशवाणी समाचार आपके लिए लेकर आया है जम्मू कश्मीर विशेष श्रृंखला एक नई सुबह।
हम बात करते हैं विकास की, निवेश की,
पर्यटन की, संस्कृति की
और रोज हो रहे बदलावों की। FM गोल्ड पर सुनिए हर शुक्रवार रात 9:15 पर आकाशवाणी समाचार की विशेष प्रस्तुति
जम्मू कश्मीर एक नई सुबह।
Welcome back to the midday news. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman met Deputy Treasury Secretary USA Waliademe Omo in New Delhi today. The two sides exchanged views on global economic and financial sector issues. In a tweet, Ministry of Finance said both leaders discussed India's G20 presidency in 2023 as well as areas of cooperation for continued and enhanced India-USA partnership. Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for the 1.3 billion citizens across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with a series, Azad Bharat Ki Baat, Akashvani Ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio. In today's episode, we bring you the story of Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971, which was won by India's diplomatic strategy and military prowess.
आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ, reliving the journey of India since independence over the last 75 years with All India Radio. From 15th August, the series is being broadcast on All India Radio, 100.1 FM Gold Channel, primetime news bulletins and across all its platforms. Tune in to stay updated with All India Radio.
The 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War was a saga of impeccable military planning and precise execution by India to end decades of atrocities and subjugation of the people of East Pakistan by the Pakistani military junta. The plight of millions of war-ravaged Bengali civilians caused worldwide outrage and alarm. India, which was led by Indira Gandhi, provided substantial diplomatic, economic and military support to Bangladeshi nationalists.
हम इस कोशिश में थे कि किसी न किसी तरह बांग्लादेश में शांति के रास्ते से कोई वहाँ के प्रश्न सुलझाए जा सके और वहाँ की जनता पर जो अत्याचार हैं वो रुके, जिसमें शांति से वो लोग रह सकें और शांति से भारत की जनता भी रह सके और जो शरणार्थी हमारे देश में आए हैं वो वापस वहाँ पे जा सकें। हमने सारी दुनिया को ये बात बताई, लेकिन वो बुनियादी कारण को न देखते हुए दूसरी बातों में लगे।
In the parliamentary discussion on the issue, the then opposition leader Atal Bihari Vajpayee supported Indian government stand.
अध्यक्ष जी, आप मुझे क्षमा करें, कोई ये न कहे कि मैं भावनाओं को उठाड़ना चाहता हूँ। युद्ध है, अगर सीमा पर आक्रमण है तो देश की जनता को युद्ध के प्रयत्नों में जोड़ना होगा। हम उन्माद पैदा न करें, मगर लोगों की देशभक्ति को जगाकर हर एक में ये भाव भरना होगा कि जो काम आप कर रहे हैं उसको ठीक तरह से करिए, मोर्चे पर खड़े रहिए। जवान सीमा के मोर्चे की चिंता करेंगे और हम घरेलू मोर्चे को संभालेंगे। किसी तरह का उपद्रव नहीं होने देंगे, किसी तरह की सांप्रदायिक अशांति पैदा नहीं होने देंगे। और अगर पाकिस्तान समझता है धोखे से हमला करके वो हमें गफलत में पकड़ सकता है तो ये पाकिस्तान की भूल है। दुनिया ने देख लिया हमलावर कौन है और अब हमलावर को हमारे जवान मुंह तोड़ उत्तर दे रहे हैं। हम आशा करते हैं कि इतिहास को बदलने की इस घड़ी का दायित्व जिनके हाथों में और प्रधानमंत्री इस संकट की घड़ी में देश को नेतृत्व देने के लिए सामने आ रही हैं। हम चाहते हैं ये देश विजयी हो और प्रधानमंत्री के नेतृत्व में हम एक नए इतिहास का निर्माण करने।
India joined the war on 3rd December 1971 after Pakistan launched preemptive airstrikes on North India. The subsequent Indo-Pakistani war witnessed engagements on two war fronts, with air supremacy achieved in the Eastern Theatre and the rapid advance of Indian military. Pakistan surrendered in Dhaka on 16 December 1971 in what remains to date the largest surrender of soldiers since the Second World War. Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw was the chief of the army staff during the Bangladesh Liberation War.
It was heartwarming to watch General Manekshaw, the chief of army staff, bring a word of cheer to his wounded Jawans who have just returned from Chamb and are now in a military hospital in New Delhi.
ठीक है, कौन सी यूनिट है तेरी? फोर जाट। चम में लड़ाई किया, बहुत दुश्मन को मारा। शाबाश, जल्दी जल्दी तगड़ा हो जा, फिर जब मौका मिलूगा। कहाँ का रहने वाला तू? मेरठ का। शाबाश। क्या हो गया? गोली लग गया? कितनी? मुझे तो पहले 9 लगी थी, मैं भी देख तगड़ा हो गया, चीफ बन गया, तू भी बन जाएगा। शाबाश।
All India Radio played a major role during the war, which lasted for 12 days, covering every incident, including the surrender of Pakistani troops.
आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ can be accessed on AIR News Alerts on Twitter, News on AIR official YouTube channel, News on AIR app, Facebook and Instagram handles. So tune in to All India Radio News for Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashwani ke saath.
The 38th meeting of Ministerial Level Joint Rivers Commission JRC of India and Bangladesh was held in New Delhi. The two sides finalized the text of MOU on interim water sharing of Kushiara River. Both sides also welcomed the finalization of the design and location of water intake point on the Feni River to meet the drinking water needs of Sabroom town in Tripura as per the October 2019 India-Bangladesh MOU on the subject. The Indian delegation was led by Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat and the Bangladesh delegation was led by State Minister for Water Resources Zahid Farooq. The meeting assumed significance as it was held after a long gap of 12 years through the technical interactions under the framework of GRC have continued in the intervening period. India and Bangladesh share 54 rivers, of which 7 rivers have been identified earlier for developing framework of water sharing agreements on priority. During the meeting, it was agreed to widen the area of ongoing cooperation by including 8 more rivers for data exchange. The matter will be further discussed at the Technical Level Committee of JRC. The Joint Rivers Commission of India and Bangladesh was constituted in the year 1972. In Afghanistan, at least 180 people have been killed this month due to flood in central and eastern Afghan provinces in recent weeks. According to media reports, flooding has brought widespread devastation, washed away thousands of houses, and exacerbated the country's economic and humanitarian crisis.
In Pakistan, the government on Thursday officially declared a national emergency in wake of the rain-induced floods which have so far killed 937 people and left at least 30 million without shelter. The Pakistani government called the incessant monsoon rains a climate-induced humanitarian crisis of epic proportions. According to media reports, the abnormal increase in rainfall has generated flash floods across the country, particularly in the southern part of Pakistan. Pakistan's National Disaster Management Authority in a statement said the country received 166.8 millimeters of rain in August as compared to the average of 48 millimeters. The authority said the rains and floods had so far killed 937 people, including 343 children. A 3-day 8th edition of the International Film Festival of Shimla has begun at Gaiety Theatre in Shimla today. Our correspondent reports that a total of 86 films will be screened and 50 directors from India and abroad will participate.
During the 3 days film festival, 27 films in the international category, 34 Indian films, 4 Himachali films and 15 national award-winning films will be screened. Films across 17 countries, that is Canada, America, Lebanon, Spain, Iran, Taiwan, Brazil, Iceland, Singapore, Mexico, Australia, Greece, Belgium, Denmark and Russia will be shown. These include documentaries, animation, features and short films. A total of 16 national award-winning films received from Director of Film Festival will also be screened at the festival. A film exhibition organized by National Film Archives of India, Pune will be displayed at the venue, which will help the audience to enhance their knowledge about the film. Movies will also be shown for the prisoners at Kanda Model Central Jail, which will also give them an opportunity to get acquainted with different dimensions of cinema. Sanjeev Sundaryal, AIR News, Shimla.
The 14th edition of the International Documentary and Short Film Festival of Kerala will get underway in Thiruvananthapuram today. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan will inaugurate the 6-day film fete organized by the Kerala Chalachitra Academy. In all, 261 films, including 19 that were screened at several international festivals, will be exhibited. The opening film, Mariupolis 2, directed by Mantas Kvedaravicius, takes viewers through the horrors of the war in Ukraine.
On to sports. In the BWF World Championships 2022, Indian pair of Chirag Shetty and Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy made history as they secured India's first men's doubles medal in the history of the BWF World Championships 2022 after defeating world number 2 Takuro Hoki and Yugo Kobayashi of Japan to storm into the semi-finals. In the men's singles, Indian shuttler H.S. Pranoy's dream ended on Friday after losing the hard-fought quarter-final to China's Junpeng Zhao in Tokyo. Pranoy crashed out of the tournament after losing to Zhao 21-19, 6-21, 18-21. Meanwhile, in men's doubles, Arjun and Dhruv Kapila lost to Indonesia's Hendra Setiawan and Muhammad Hassan by 8-21, 14-21. The Sensex and the Nifty today posted modest gains in the afternoon trade. Both stock indices added amid positive cues from global share markets. The Sensex was trading near the 59,000 mark, while the Nifty was trading near 17,600 level.
Now let us have a look at the weather forecast for today. National capital Delhi will have strong surface winds during daytime. Minimum temperature was 26, maximum will be 35 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. Minimum temperature was 26, maximum will be 32. Chennai will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. Minimum temperature was 26 degrees and maximum will be 36. Kolkata will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. Minimum temperature was 27 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 34 degrees. And now before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be on a 2-day visit to Gujarat from tomorrow to address Khadi Utsav at Sabarmati Riverfront in Ahmedabad. Supreme Court refers freebies issued to 3-judge bench, also calls for an expert committee and all-party meeting to discuss the subject. Chief Justice N.V. Ramana to retire today. New CJI UU Lalit to assume charge of office tomorrow. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh holds bilateral talks with his Tanzanian counterpart, Dr. Stergomena Lawrence Tax, in New Delhi today. Jharkhand Governor seeks legal advice on Election Commission's report over Office of Profit case against CM Hemant Soren. Veteran Congress leader Ghulam Nabi Azad resigns from primary membership of party. Country's steel production capacity increases by 50% to 155 million tons per annum in last 8 years, says Steel Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. In badminton, Chirag Shetty and Satvik Sairaj Ranki Reddy make history by storming into men's doubles semi-finals in BWF World Championship. And with that, we end the midday news.